Bill.
is.
Hey, Bill.
I think he's out there.
Hey, Greg. Greg's not there.
So I hear
He's got the 3 dots.
I hear the voice of somebody. Okay, I think we're recording. Y'all excuse me not having shoes.
So they can only see you from here.
Huh? Yeah.
He went record by
I don't
his
mind.
mom.
They know that I don't have shoes on. I've got foot issues this morning. Hello, everyone. This is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship, and I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul. And today is July 4th, 2013, and we're going to consider 2013.
August.
August 1st. Why did I say July?
You said July.
And I'm on the wrong year too. I'm doing real well today. Okay, we're gonna go. We're on paper 119, the Bestowals of Christ Michael, and we're on section 4, the 4th bestowal today. And I think we got Greg's back there. I don't think Bill. I think Bill answered. And okay, he didn't come through.
Greg's here.
Hey, Greg.
I think it's page
There's got
1313.
Yeah, let me see if I can add Bill back again, because it looks like he's online, but he's.
Hello.
We'll see if he pops in here. Well, I hope it doesn't keep doing that for 20 minutes.
Hello.
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 There's Bill too.
Hey, Bill.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello. Hi, Bill.
Hey.
How are
How
you?
y'all doing?
Bill. All right.
Good.
Doing good.
Okay. Well, I'm driving down the road and the phone started kicking in the Skype, and I had to connect the Bluetooth with the radio.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
So
All
I
right.
didn't know what the heck was going on,
Oh,
and
okay.
I couldn't hear anything on the other end.
Oh, all right. Well, we're just starting, and you're being recorded, so just to let you know. You gonna stay with us, or are you gonna bug out? You still there, Bill?
Bill.
Okay, well, he can listen, I guess, if he wants to. Okay, so let's get started. The 4th bestowal on the
Yeah.
long slide here.
All right, well,
We're starting.
You gonna be able to stick with us, Bill? Let's hope so. Okay, well, let's get going. Let me bring up the right.
Yeah, you got it there. There it is.
No, this is my computer, so I can keep without having to turn around. We're on slide 37. I've already done this. There we go, slide 37. 4th bestowal. Roy, you want to take the first section there for us?
Yes, we will. The 4th bestowal. It was at the end of one of the periodic millennium roll calls of Uversa that Micah proceeded to place the government of Nebadon in the hand of Emmanuel and Gabriel. And of course, recalling what had happened in time past following such action, we all prepared to witness Micah's disappearance on his 4th mission of bestowal. And we were not long kept waiting, for he shortly went out upon the Salverton dispatching field and were lost to our view.
Now, we've been through this before, haven't we? He goes out on the dispatching field and disappears. Another thing I want to mention, I lost both of them now. I want to mention about this is, notice here it says, it was at the end of one of the periodic millennial roll
I
calls.
was going to ask you that. Why are they telling us that, Roger?
Well, apparently every millennial or something, they have a roll call of Uversa. And I guess it's probably when many of the sleeping survivors around the super universe of Irvanton is called in, right? And is awakened on the mansion world. So
Every 1,000 years.
every 1,000 years, yeah, millennial, which is 1,000 years. Now, remember, they're talking about a Uversa
Right.
millennial.
Right.
So that's more than human 1,000 years, right?
Right.
But apparently every 1,000 years there's a millennial, whichever that is, and we think it's 1,000 years, they have a roll call of Uversa. And that's on the super universe level, right?
Yep.
Okay, so which is kind of interesting that they kind of let us in on that little tidbit of information.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, Michael turns over the hands of the government to Emmanuel again and Gabriel, right? And we know who Emmanuel is. He's the 611,121st. What?
Bright morning
Unions of days.
star. He's the Union of Days.
Yeah.
Gabriel is the bright morning star.
Right. The Union of Days is the government representation of the Trinity. Remember that? So, and Jesus calls him his elder brother. Okay, you remember that? Emmanuel is my elder brother. Okay? And because someone tried to call him Emmanuel once, he said, no, that's my elder brother. Now, remember, he's got the same number, 611,121st, as Jesus does in our local creative Mother Spirit. So apparently all three of them was created for our local universe, right?
And you said as a union of days, he's our government representative?
He's the Trinity government representative. He's the representative on the of the Trinity in the local universe.
Well, that's pretty interesting, Roger. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was the faithful of days.
Is he the faithful of days? Yeah, he is the faithful. Now I'm confused myself. He's the faithful of days.
He's the faithful days, not the ancient of days.
Yeah, the faithful of days.
He said a union of days.
I said union of days. I make mistakes like this. Okay. And yeah, he's the faithful of days. I believe. I can't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah. But he's the government representative of the Trinity in our local universe, right? And it's interesting that he's got the same exact number as of Michael, so you can assume that for every local universe, there's a
Faithful of days.
faithful of days created exactly right the instant before the Creator Son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we know all 700 Creator Sons were created at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was 1,000,000 that was created at that
A
time.
million.
Yeah, there's 700,000 that are assigned to the local universes and the 7 super universes. They were all created at the exact same moment. But the interesting part is they created 1,000,000, so there's 300,000 in reserve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For the what?
Maybe for the outer space level.
You just wonder what they've been doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But the interesting part is if Emmanuel is his elder brother, that means the 1,000,000 faithful of days were all created at the same time too.
Uh-huh.
The instant before Michael, right?
Uh-huh.
Because he calls him his elder brother. So he had to be created before him, but he's got the same number. So they were all created with the prospects of there's one for every single local universe, right? So they knew what their job was before they even got here, right?
Mhm.
They were created for this local universe.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's keep going. Where's my little... I'm missing it. There it is. Okay. So, Don, would you take the next one?
On the third day after this bestowal disappearance, we observed in the universe broadcast to Uversa this significant news item from the seraphic headquarters of Nebadon, reporting the unannounced arrival of an unknown seraphim accompanied by a solitary supernaphim and Gabriel of Salvington. This unregistered seraphim qualifies as of the Nebadon order and bears credentials from the Uversa Ancients of Days. Certified by Emmanuel of Salvington, the seraphim tests out as belonging to the supreme order of the angels of the local universe and has already been assigned to the core of the teaching counselors.
Okay, so this is the fourth bestowal of Michael, and he's taking on the job of a seraphim, isn't he?
Mhm.
Something real quick, if y'all don't mind. Give me 1 second here. On 4-2. I'm going wrong way. Oh, we have this set up. This is where I'm looking for. The Union of Days. He is. I thought that was right. It is the Union of Days. I stand corrected. It is the Union of Days. I thought it was. I don't think it's it. So all the Union of Days, right?
So what are the faithful days?
Faithful days are what level? Ask me later on.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have to go look for it because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I thought Emmanuel was the Union of Days. I just wanted to make sure I was right about that. Okay, so the second bestowal, he starts out as a seraphim, right? Registered by the Ancients of Days. So he was assigned to the corps of teaching counselors, wasn't he? So basically, he becomes what? A teacher or a counselor to one of the teachers, right? Okay, this is a great picture of it right here. All right. So we're right here, right? The seraphim. See this little symbol? This is the symbol for the that's a superlative. I'm sorry, seraphim, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about. He's assigned to this corps. Okay. Keep going. We need to go down on here. Over here. There we go. Okay. Linda, or there's nobody back there. Linda, you want to take the next one?
Michael was absent from Salvington during this, the seraphic bestowal, for a period of over 40 standard universe years. During this time, he was attached as a seraphic teaching counselor, what you might denominate a private secretary, to 26 different master teachers functioning on 22 different worlds. His last or terminal assignment was as counselor and helper attached to a bestowal mission of a Trinity teacher son on World 462 in System 84 of Constellation 3 in the universe of Nibbidon.
Okay, there's a couple points about this I think it's real important for us to understand. We're talking about Michael now. He's the creator of the local universe. What's the job he has here? He's a subordinate, isn't he? They don't send him in as the leader, do they? They send him in as a subordinate to a teaching, seraphic teaching counselor. Do y'all see that? So he's not even high man on the totem pole, is he? I think that's important because of why? Because he learns the experience of what we do, right? We have we're subordinate to many, many people and jobs as we go through life, right? So he gets the experience of not being the head honcho, okay? And I think that's important. And it says he was the private secretary, okay, to 26 different master teachers. So he had 26 different master seraphim above him at one time or another, didn't he, during this bestowal? So he knows what it's like to be in the trenches and be one of the worker bees, doesn't he? Okay. And his last one was he was to a Trinity teacher son on World 462, System 84 in Constellation 3 in our universe, right? All right, so that's where we are. So remember in the Bible it says in all things he's been tried and tested? That's what they're talking about here. Okay. You want to take the next one here?
Never throughout the 7 years of this assignment was this Trinity teacher son wholly persuaded as to the identity of his seraphic associate. True, all seraphim during that age were regarded with peculiar interest and scrutiny. Full well we all knew that our beloved sovereign was abroad in the universe, disguised as a seraphim, but never could we be certain of his identity. Never was he positively identified until the time of his attachment to the bestowal mission of this Trinity teacher son. But always throughout this era were the supreme seraphim regarded with special solicitude, lest any of us should find that we had unawares been host to the sovereign of the universe on a tradition of creature bestowal. And so it has become forever true concerning angels that their creator and ruler has been, in all points, tried and tested in the likeness of seraphic personality.
It's kind of like that show on TV where the boss goes in undercover, isn't it? That's what they're talking about here. So he was a seraphim incognito, as they say. Okay, and that's what was going on. Okay, Roy, you want to take it up again?
As these successive bestowals partook increasingly of the nature of the lower forms of universe life, Gabriel became more and more an associate of these incarnation adventures, functioning as the universal liaison between the bestower, Michael, and the acting universe ruler, Emmanuel.
So Gabriel became more and more
A part of it.
as he went lower and lower, right? So anything that the Creator Son might need or need taken care of, Gabriel was always in close association. He could, get it done, right? Which is kind of interesting. No?
Now has Michael passed through the bestowal experience of 3 orders of this created universe sons: the Melchizedeks, the Lananandeks, and the material sons. Next he condescends to personalize in the likeness of angelic life as a supreme seraphim before turning his attention to the various phases of the ascending careers of his lowest form of will creatures, the evolutionary mortals of time and space.
So he's just going down in progression, isn't he? A little bit at a time.
So these are descending, all of these are descending.
Bestowals, that's right. Farther and farther down, right? He started at the higher groups and he's working his way down to mortals, right? So he's wanting to experience the whole gamut of his own creation, right? All right, let's go on to the 5th bestowal. Linda, you want to take up that one?
My turn?
Yep.
A little over 300 million years ago, as time is reckoned on Urantia, we witnessed another of those transfers of universe authority to Emmanuel and observed the preparations of Michael for departure. This occasion was different from previous ones in that he announced that his destination was Uversa, headquarters of the super-universe of Orvanton. In due time, our sovereign departed, but the broadcasts of the super-universe never made mention of Michael's arrival at the courts of the Ancients of Days. Shortly after his departure from Salvington, there did appear in the Uversa broadcast this significant statement: "There arrived today an unannounced and unnumbered ascendant pilgrim of mortal origin from the universe of Nebadon, certified by Emmanuel of Salvington and accompanied by Gabriel of Nebadon. This unidentified being presents the status of a true spirit and has been received into our fellowship."
Okay, so y'all think about this for a second. When we leave Salvington as ascended mortals, right, and we become what? First stage spirits, right? Okay. What would be our destination? That would be Uversa, right? The headquarters of our local universe. And when we do this, Michael gives us our papers for that, right? To do that. That's where we go before Michael, and he says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And you get authorization to leave the local universe, right? And we would go on to Uversa. Now, think about this. When they do that, they assign you have a name and a number, right? This is mortal number, such and such of this universe, and you have a name. Well, notice here it says, "There arrived today an unannounced, unnumbered ascendant pilgrim." You see that? Ascendant, right? Of mortal origin from the universe of Nebadon, certified by Emmanuel and accompanied by Gabriel. Now, do you think Gabriel would normally accompany a normal person ascending?
No.
Not likely.
He's busy.
He's busy. He's a busy person. So this was definitely strange. That's probably why it went over the universe broadcast too. Yeah. Because they wouldn't just broadcast, you know, every Joe Blow that comes in, would they? So this made this a little bit unusual. Okay, so let's take a look at this next one here. Kind of. Oh. Hang on, y'all.
There you go.
No, I haven't. There we go.
More origin.
Okay. So this is a picture of what we're talking about, really. Okay? This is the ascendant, this is Gabriel. See this here? This is the ascendant pilgrim, okay, at Uversa. All right? You see this? This would be Michael. And this is 300 million years ago. Over 300 million years ago. Okay? So I want to show you all that. It's good representation. Okay. Now, did I skip over a paragraph there?
2, 5.2.
Yes. We should be on 5.2.
If you should visit
There we go.
Uversa.
Okay.
No,
I
no,
skipped over one.
one more back. There we
Okay.
go.
There we go. All right.
If you should visit Uversa today, you would hear the recounting of the days when Abaddon sojourned there. This particular and unknown pilgrim of time and space being known on Uversa by that name. And this ascending mortal, at least a superb personality in the exact likeness of the spirit stage of the ascending mortals, lived and functioned on Uversa for a period of 11 years of Orvanton Standard Time. This being received the assignments and performed the duties of a spirit mortal in common with his fellows from the various local universes of Orvanton. In all points he was tested and tried, even as his fellows, and on all occasions he proved worthy of the confidence and trust of his superiors, while he unfailingly commanded the respect and loyal admiration of his fellow spirits.
Okay, so he got up there and he did all the jobs he was assigned to him. This is 11 years. He was a spirit mortal, right? The other thing is, all points he was tested and tried, and even has his fellows. Do you notice that even when you get up to Uversa, on this level, you have jobs to do. You get an assigned task, don't you? And you're expected to behave in a certain way. It's a training school all the way up. So even once, and now this is way past what, 570 spheres of, or types of Maharaja beings, right? Because you're a spirit being by now. This is past the first level of a spirit being, right? And so at this point, you should be fairly reaching more and more perfection. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So even at this level, you're still tried and tested to see if you're learning your lessons.
You know what's so beautiful about that? Everybody goes through that the same way, the same.
Yeah.
There's no favoritism in
There's
any
no
way. Everybody has to rise to the occasion.
There's no free ride on anything.
You just
Exactly.
can't skip it.
You're right. You
Can't
can't skip it.
That's right.
Might
Everybody
Might
has
as
the
well
same.
start dealing with it.
Exactly.
That's right. Everybody goes through it,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So if you think you're going to get to the mansion worlds and your life's going to be a piece of cake, you're going to be
Forget about
disappointed.
There's no easy street, huh?
Exactly.
There's no easy street. We all have jobs to do. We all have things we have to do, right? Okay, and then the next one is the picture of him again. All right, let's keep moving on. On Salvington.
Ready?
Yeah.
On Sabbaton, we followed the career of the spirit pilgrim with consummate interest, knowing full well by the presence of Gabriel that this unassuming and unnumbered pilgrim spirit was none other than the bestowed ruler of our local universe. The first appearance of Micah incarnated in the role of one stage of mortal evolution was an event which thrilled and enthralled all Nevadon. We had heard of such things, but now we beheld them. He appeared on Uversa as a fully developed and perfectly trained spirit mortal, and as such, continued his career to the occasion of the advancement of a group of ascending mortal to Havana, whereupon he held converse with the Ancient of Days, and immediately in the company of Gabriel took sudden and unceremoniously leave of Uversa, appearing shortly thereafter in his accustomed place on Salvaton.
Okay, so a couple things in this paragraph that's kind of interesting is Gabriel went through this entire bestowal with him, didn't he? Sounds like he didn't leave his side much, does it? And they assumed it was Michael because Gabriel was always there. Why else would Gabriel hang around, you know? Okay. The other thing is this statement that it was an event which thrilled and enthralled all Lebanon. Now, why would that be? Probably because they'd all heard that the other creator sons went through this experience of bestowing themselves on all types of beings that they create, right? So they're getting to witness something very, very special to be able to see this happening, right? So that's why they were enthralled about this, okay? And of course, it's interesting here that on graduation, as mortals graduate from the local universe of super universe of Orvanton and go to Havana, this is when Michael left to end his bestowal, didn't it? So what happens is normally they would you would graduate and probably stand before the Ancients of Days, because that's what they say here is he held converse with the Ancients of Days, and immediately after that he left, didn't he? So it kind of shows us what we could have to look forward to and go through. One day we will stand in front of the Ancients of Days, and that will be on our graduation from the local universe to Havana, right?
So does that mean that he went through the experience of what it would be like to be judged before the Ancients of Days? That's what that means,
That's
right?
what that means. That's right. You know, that's how he experiences the same things we do. Okay? And I'm sure the Ancients of Days already knew that he was Michael, you know. So, and that was a breeze, right? Yeah. Okay. Dawn, you want to take the next one?
Not until the completion of this bestowal did it finally dawn upon us that Michael was probably going to incarnate in the likeness of his various orders of universe personalities, from the highest Melchizedeks right on down to the mortals of flesh and blood on the evolutionary worlds of time and space. About this time, the Melchizedek colleges began to teach the probability of Michael sometime incarnating as a mortal of the flesh, and there occurred much speculation as to the possible technique of such an inexplicable bestowal. That Michael had in person performed in the role of an ascending mortal lent new and added interest to the whole scheme of creature progression, all the way up through both the local universe and the super universe.
Okay, so keep this in mind. Each one of these bestowals was about what? 1,500,000 years apart. So during this 500,000 years, in these schools they would teach that what Michael had done before. And they say, well, this is probably what he's going to do next, right? So that's what they're talking about. You know how we speculate on the outer space levels? Well, they were doing the same thing with the bestowals of Michael. Well, you know, he'll probably do this, or he'll probably do that, or he'll probably show up as this type of being or that type of being. So they weren't sure because all they heard was the rumors that all those creator sons go through this. So, you know, it's kind of a thing like faith, isn't it? They knew it was going to happen on faith. Okay, so that's the same way with us. And that's the same way with the outer space levels that they're talking about with us. Okay, so, all right, let's keep moving.
I got a question though.
Yeah.
Now, so I mean, we see it's a descending pattern, but could he have in each one of those chose another? I mean, okay, let's go to the 7th. I mean, I'm just asking. He didn't have to come to Urantia and be done the way that he did.
No. He could have come and lived a normal life just like every other human. Could have been a teacher, could have done anything. In other words, it's hard for the Christian believers to believe that Christ did not have to die on the cross. And that's a very hard concept and a very hard thing to understand, because the way he did. See, our whole concept of Christianity is wrapped up in the sacrificial land
Exactly.
concept. And so for them for someone to tell the world that Christ could have come as a spiritual teacher or something like that and left a normal life like the Melchizedek did, like Maccabean Melchizedek did, they won't hear of it because their whole belief system's wrapped around this sacrificial lamb concept,
Okay.
right? And so to know that Christ's bestowal on this planet was fulfilling the same thing that every other creator son has done and will do, the ones that are not finished, is almost unbelievable. Because we have what? We have such a microscopic view of the super universe. We think of things around our planet and our planet only. We forget the rest of the super universe is going through the same sort of things. And these planets each have their own history. So to come along like we do and say, well, we believe that Christ fulfilled his seventh bestowal and became a master son and became sovereign of our universe because he was willing to do this. That is the meaning of the cross. That is the meaning of the mission and the life of Christ, is to give us an example of a perfect life, to show us the will of God, and that's exactly what he did. Right? That was the sacrifice. People say, what was the sacrifice of Christ then? The sacrifice is that Christ left his perfect domain of Salvington and put himself through 7 different types of beings, 7 bestowals to prove his sovereignty of his universe. He was sovereign of his universe. He's actually experienced, that's the experiential part of it. He's experienced everything every type of creature he created does. So that makes him a sympathetic ruler of his universe, right? An understanding ruler. By the time he got to Earth, he already had the whole ball of wax, didn't he? You think about it. He knows what it's like to live every type of being he created. This is the lowest type. This is the worst type, right? So by the time he gets here, he's finished the experience. So you can understand why at his baptism, his mission was done. He had finished everything that he set out to do. So that 3 years of teaching us and being with us, you know what that was? That wasn't because God willed it to be that way. That was the love of Christ. It's because he loved us. You know? What a sacrifice that is. He could have went back to Salvington and said, I'm done, this is it, I have sovereignty in my universe. But he chose to stay and teach, didn't he? And to be with us. What a loving creator. You know? It's just, it brings tears to your eyes to think about it. You know? That was the sacrifice of Christ. Okay, let's keep going.
Still, the technique of these successive bestowals remains a mystery. Even Gabriel confesses that he does not comprehend the method whereby this paradise son and universe creator could, at will, assume the personality and live the life of one of his own subordinate creatures.
It says it all, doesn't it? Okay, let's go on to the 6th bestowal. Read it.
The 6th bestowal. Now that all Salvington was familiar with the preliminaries of an impending
You're still there.
Impending bestowal.
Yeah.
Michael called the sojourners on the headquarters planet together, and for the first time unfolded the remainder of the incarnation plan, announcing that he was soon to leave Salvington for the purpose of assuming the career of a Morancha mortal at the courts of the Most High Fathers on the headquarters planet of the 5th constellation. And then we heard for the first time the announcement that his 7th and final bestowal would be made on some evolutionary world in the likeness of mortal flesh.
That was quite an announcement, wasn't it? Think about it. You know, he this time he gets out in front of the Most Highs in the constellation fathers and say, "Well, I'm going to go be human. You know, I'm going to go become immortal." You know, and they're probably all thinking, "Don't go, don't go." You know, why would you want to go down there with those guys, right? All right.
Before leaving Salverton for the sixth bestowal, Micah addressed the assembly inhabitants of the spirit and departed in full view of everyone, accompanied by a long seraphim and the bright morning star never done. While the direction of the universe had again been entrusted to Emmanuel, there was a wider distribution of administrative responsibility.
Now, why would there be a wider distribution of administrative responsibilities?
I guess because Gabriel.
Yeah, because Gabriel needed to be free
Yeah.
to experience this at full heart. So they had a lone seraphim and the bright and morning star. So the lone seraphim was assigned to him also, plus Gabriel was there. You catch that?
Yeah.
So the lone seraphim was assigned as the ministering spirit, right? Gabriel went of his own accord to experience the bestowal with him. You follow that? So the process is still the same. But the wider distribution of administrative responsibilities, because Emmanuel had to assume not only running the universe, but he had to assume what? Gabriel's responsibilities.
Yeah. So Gabriel started with him actually in the fifth
Yeah.
bestowal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one they prepared things a little bit more, right? Okay, and here we go. This is Indantum, headquarters planet of the constellation 5. That's where he made his announcement, right? And this is Gabriel, the lone seraphim, and guess who this is?
Christ Michael.
Christ Michael. That's right. Who will become whom? Jesus of Nazareth, right? No.
Not-
I'm getting ahead of
not
myself.
yet.
I'm getting ahead. This
That's
is the
the
Morancha.
seventh.
That's the seventh. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's the
This is the Morancha mortal. So he's going to the Morancha world, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay.
Michael appeared on the headquarters of Constellation 5 as a full-fledged Morancha mortal of ascending status. I regret that I am forbidden to reveal the details of this unnumbered Morancha mortal's career, for it's one of the most extraordinary and amazing epochs in Michael's bestowal experience, not even excepting his dramatic and tragic sojourn on Urantia, but among the many restrictions imposed upon me, and accepting this commission is one which forbids my undertaking to unfold the details of this wonderful career of Michael as the Morancha mortal of Endantum.
So they're talking about a Morancha career of a mortal, right? And think about this. They talk about this amazing career of a Morancha mortal. That's what we have to look forward to.
Exactly.
You know? So when we leave here, we got wonderful things ahead of us that we can do. You know? Doesn't it kind of whip your appetite to want to...
Yeah, I really would like to know more about this.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll tell us later on.
Why are they forbidden
They
to
prob-
reveal the details?
Because
We're
it's
not
too
the-
close to
Yeah, it's too-
our... where we're going.
Where we're going. You know?
If they revealed the details, we would have a peek into the Morancha worlds we're going to and the Morancha future of ourselves.
But they've already did it though.
Yeah, but very limited, right?
Yeah. I mean, because it's
Now,
talked
why
about.
did they do that? Why don't they just tell us everything?
Because it's like well, I ain't gonna say, but I don't know, tell me.
You wouldn't need any faith, would you?
Oh, okay. You wouldn't need any faith. That's a good conclusion.
Think about it. We're developing faith in this world that we can't develop on any other sphere because we're totally separated from the whole constellation, the whole system. We're cut off from the broadcast, right?
Exactly.
We're in quarantine, right? If they revealed all this to us, we would not need faith. We'd say, well, we know what's coming. You know, we'll just do whatever we want to, right? But by not telling us, we have to develop, number one, our own personality, our own experience, develop our own faith to make us stronger when we go to that world. So we get experience on this world we would not get if we already knew what was happening.
Well, I mean, but they do give us ideas in
They
the book
give us
as
a
we
little
go.
bit, right?
I mean, because it said when you wake up on the mansion world, and these welcoming beings are there to help you get accustomed to your new body and all these other things, and then you go on break to
Visit with your relatives and friends.
visit with your relatives and friends and all that stuff like that. That was.
But they don't give us a lot of details.
No, they don't
do
give
they?
us a lot of details.
Yeah, and by revealing this career of Michael, we would have a pretty good picture of what's to come, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
You know, because if they told us about these amazing things he did as a Morancha mortal, then would we have the opportunity to discover those on our own? No. You know.
But don't people on Worlds Without a Rebellion know these things?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they still won't tell us.
Yeah, but that's part of what makes us agony doctors
Right.
too.
Right.
Faith, we have faith without seeing.
Exactly.
You can't put a value on that. You really can't. Because you think about it, this world is a struggle from the time you're born
Exactly.
till the time you die. And anybody that tells you that it's not is not living. Right?
You know, and all the levels in between here and Satania have to
Everything's
be
a struggle.
right.
Yeah.
The whole thing, because
After you talking about even after Morancha?
yeah,
Yes.
because the rebellion. Don't forget, the rebellion occurred. What in
It's
in
high up.
Jerusalem.
The difference
Right.
is this: we have all the answers there. We can ask anything. You know, we got teachers that will teach us anything. But you know, the Melchizedeks, you know, y'all think I do a little teaching here? I don't know nothing. You know, when you get to the mansion worlds, they really start teaching you something, right? And all this book is trying to do is get us. They're trying to get us below sub kindergarten level. You know, that's what they're doing. And they're not really revealing too much of us. But think of it this way. Because of our being cut off, and because we're living in barbarianism, which is what we're doing, if you think about it. You look at the movies, you look at TVs, you look at the way that our concepts of life, we are not that much higher than the original barbarians that started out on this planet. The only difference is we have technology.
That's what I was
We
just
learn
gonna
how to
say.
kill ourselves more efficiently, right? Kill each other more efficiently, especially in the last 50 to 100 years. We really have. And so the difference in today and 100 years ago is we have television, we have communication, we have a way to broadcast the barbarianism where we did not before. So before you had to learn how to be barbaric from your friends and neighbors, didn't you? Now you can learn how to be barbaric from all over the world, right? So if you choose to go the Father's way, the right way, the perfect way, you have to make a conscious choice to do that. You think about it. Because it's much easier to live in sin than it is in perfection. Much easier. You know, you do whatever you want to. You don't worry about who you hurt. You know, you drink, smoke, chase each other, act like animals, you know. But if you choose the right way, the moral way, the proper way to do things, you have to make a moral choice about everything you do, everything you say, every person you meet.
You know what's one of the hardest things is that, you know, we're supposed to be living for others and we're supposed to put everybody else before us. And okay, you can make a decision to do that, but then to live and exist and interact with a world who is self-centered,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes it so much harder. Do you understand what I'm
Exactly.
saying? When you are,
It's
you know,
tough.
and I see this in my daughter. I see this in my, you know,
Yeah.
because she's learning these things and that
Well,
she
she's
comes
making
home-
those conscious choices, aren't
Yes.
they? Yeah, it's a conscious
Yes.
choice over and over again.
But she's realizing that people don't act like she does.
Yeah. And it
And-
sticks out, doesn't it?
It's not only does it stick out, but it, you know, it's very discouraging. So really, you need
Reinforcement.
yes, you do
Yeah.
all the time.
And this is reinforcement. That's what this is. This is reinforcement that
That's
you're
where
doing
your
the right
faith has
thing.
to come in.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's right.
Because you know, if you don't get this kind of reinforcement, then I mean, you know, the spirit, we can be pulled out into this kind of stuff. That's what I'm saying.
That's
when I
right.
wake up and I read this
Yes, you
and
can.
I'm reinforced, that I'm doing the right thing, that I don't have to settle for just the easy way out is, you know,
The easy way is the sinful way.
right. I don't have to settle for that. I can maintain. I can maintain this level of standard that God has created for me, and know that at some point that I'm gonna reach a level where other are on the level, and I can be complete and open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way too. When you reach the Morancha spheres, the easy way will no longer be the sinful way, will it? Because we will live in closer to perfection. So the Morancha spheres will be what? The easy way will be the Father's way, right? That's what changes from this life to the next, because we're living in rebellion, we're living in a planet of rebellion. That has not changed, has it? Nothing has really changed since Jesus was here. So when we leave here, we immediately get put in a situation. Why do you think they call it heaven? Heaven's not paradise.
No.
Y'all know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Heaven is not paradise. Our concept of heaven is the mansion world. So that's why people are trying to get to heaven, because they will be living in the Father's way rather than the barbarianism and the way we live on this earth. You earn that privilege. You earn that right through decision. And what's that decision? Survival. They don't make it easy on us. You know? Nothing's
And
easy.
you know what? As saying that, I've listened to people that read that, and people that read this book don't believe that we actually do earn that right to survive. You know, some still think that
it's a gift of God, yes. It's a gift of God, but you have to choose it, right?
But it's automatic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
so they think it's automatic, and it's not automatic.
No,
It's
a
about a
choice.
decision. Yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Since the mansion worlds are partly there to help correct the
Removal of the mark of the beast. Right?
well, yeah, but it's also to help teach us.
Yeah.
So therefore, the mansion world experience is going to be slightly different for every individual because we all have different lessons to learn.
And we're different
So
levels too.
where Jesus, part of why maybe not to tell us about that career is because it's not going to be the same as ours.
No.
He obviously doesn't have the mark of the beast.
No.
Didn't have a lot of things to perfect.
No.
And, had a totally different experience than
Yeah.
us.
'Cause
So
we
it's not
know-
as relevant.
That's
I mean,
right.
some of us are going to zip through Mansion World one relative to 10 days, and
Yeah.
others are going to hang around for years,
Yeah.
because they don't really want to learn anything new because they already know it.
That's right. That's right.
That'll be a long time.
Yeah.
But so that's another thing that I think about people with educations and high degrees and high and lofty places that really stand out in this world. Will they stand out on the mansion world?
No, they won't.
Because
The education you're talking about is but for temporal things.
Right.
Okay? The education that will count there is what? Spiritual education, spiritual things.
And
right?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I got many degrees, okay? They'll call me Dr. Paul just for the fun of it. I earned my doctorate,
Right.
okay? I earned my master's. I earned several bachelors, okay? I have all that book learning, okay? Can't tell by listening to me speak, but it's there. The difference is this: that's all temporal learning. It's things to do with this earth, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mostly. The things that are important are your spiritual lessons, your spiritual learning. And there's going to be people that are masters in the mansion worlds that never sit a day in class. I can tell you that. They didn't go to school. They learn these things through experience. And that experience is better or just as good as sitting through this book learning classes. Because you'll find out, it's hard for people, and people, when I say this, people that are educated and have degrees hate me, but you learn more through experience than you ever learned through school.
Sure you do.
That's all there is to it, okay? When you get out and experience life, and you work with people, and you deal with people, and you make people decisions, and you make spiritual decisions all day, every day, that's the education, not what you find out in school. any idiot, you can teach a monkey to sit through a class.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it don't take a lot of brains to do
Mhm.
that. If you can take tests and sit there and listen and regurgitate information, you can go to school. I don't care what anybody says. But in all those degrees, when you get to the mansion worlds, they are not going to mean diddly. Not on any of them. What will matter is your experience with people on this earth
Mhm.
and where you are there.
Well, there's certain things you're going to learn from going to school. You're going
Of
to
course
have a
you
broader
do. Of course you do.
understanding
You have a
of the
broader
overall
understanding
picture.
of the world.
You're going to have better study
Yes.
ethics, probably learn discipline, self-discipline,
Yeah.
which is probably the most important thing to learn here is self-discipline.
But it's not the whole ball of wax. That's the whole
No.
whole thing. It's not. You know,
You need to have
because
a
you can
balance.
study anything. You can study anything outside school and get just as much knowledge. You
Mhm.
really can. The tricky part is this: we reward people for book smart, and that's it. We
Exactly.
don't reward them for
For life experience.
Life experience. We don't.
Life experience.
You know, and that is changing with the internet. Y'all probably will notice this over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the internet, people can train themselves, they can learn more, they can take classes online. You know, you can get that little piece of paper.
Read, do research.
Yeah, you really can. It's gotten a lot easier, and it's going to get easier and easier as time goes by. It will get to a point where you won't require a classroom. You won't require a university for a degree anymore. You know.
Well, all learning is self-taught.
And it's self-taught, and most of the time, those people that are self-taught like that are better educated too, because they learn it in depth.
Mhm.
Where many times you can skate through classes and get to degree and not know nothing when you're done.
Mhm.
You know. So, okay, let's get back to this. Who's next? Dawn, I think you're up next, don't you?
Sure.
I'm not sure. You take it.
Thank you.
Oh, was it?
Oh, is it?
Oh, was it you?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Diane.
I'm sorry, Diane.
When Michael returned from this Morancha bestowal, it was apparent to all of us that our Creator had become a fellow creature, that the universe sovereign was also the friend and sympathetic helper of even the lowest form of created intelligence in his realms. We had noticed this progressive acquirement of the creature's viewpoint in the universe administration before this, for it had been gradually appearing, but it became more apparent after the completion of the Morancha mortal bestowal, even still more so after his return from the career of the carpenter's son on Urantia.
So you see that experience there? Even the Creator's Son has benefited from this experience of going through.
They noticed the difference.
They
in him.
noticed the difference in him. That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
We were informed in advance by Gabriel of the time of Michael's release from the Morancha bestowal, and accordingly we arranged a suitable reception on Salvaton. Millions upon millions of beings will assemble from the constellation headquarter world of Nebadon, and a majority of the sojourners of the worlds adjacent to Salvaton were gathered together to welcome him back to the rulership of his universe. In response to our many addresses of welcome and expression of appreciation of his sovereign, so vitally interested in his creature, he only replied, "I have simply been about my Father's business. I am only doing the pleasure of the Paradise Son, who loves and craves to understand their creatures." Wow.
Have we not got a wonderful
That's
song?
awesome.
You know? They want to praise him, and he always gives credit to the Father and the concept of Paradise Son.
They had this big party, and all people from the other
Everywhere.
universes came.
Yeah.
The
And
adjacent
all he has to say
universes.
is, I've been about my Father's business. This is
That's
what
awesome.
Creator Sons do. You know? That's amazing to me. Okay?
But from that day down to the hour when Michael embarked upon his Urantia adventure as the Son of Man, all Nebadon continued to discuss the many exploits of their sovereign ruler as he functioned on Indantum as the bestowal incarnation of a Morancha mortal of evolutionary ascension, being in all points tested like his fellows, assembled from the material worlds of the entire constellation of his sojourn.
Okay, so this was a very big deal to these beings, wasn't it?
Was Andantum in the part of the rebellion? I guess it was, right?
Yep.
So he was. Okay.
And we're like 3 minutes before noon, so I'm going to stop here and we're going to take up the 7th bestoval next time. Because I don't want to get in the middle of that and I want to discuss some stuff as we go. So now we've seen the first 6 bestowals, haven't we? Before he came to earth. You know, and the pity is most of the Christian believers, the Christian church, have never heard of any of this, right? They don't realize that their sovereign, Jesus, had been incarnated in 6 other types of beings before he came to earth. What a pity not to know these things. And so this is where we split from the church, isn't it? Now we're going to go through the 7th bestowal and we're going to go through the entire life of Christ. And as we go through this, it's going to become apparent all this information we studied from the first part of the book, why it's so important during his life. Because the things he does and says, you're going to see direct correlations to what became before. Right? So that'll be interesting. Let's say a little prayer and we'll knock off for the day. Roy, would you like to pray for us?
Heavenly Father, thank you for lessons learned today. Thank you for our friends. Thank you for everything that we enjoyed. Thank you for opening up our hearts and our mind to the revelation of your word, the beautiful future that awaits us, and just continued growth. And we just love you, and we just need you, and we just give you praise and just say hallelujah to your name. We thank you for our Creator Son, Christ Michael. We thank you for the love that he's shown through his bestowals. We thank you for that he came to our little world and showed us how much he cared and loved for us, Father. Thank you. Hallelujah.
In Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.